And you thought we were done with that small block Chevy in the 67 Impala. But as a YouTuber, you learn real fast in this business. Never let an interesting topic go to waste. So where we left off yesterday was we assumed it may have a stuck valve because it was popping through the intake. So we tried the classic tried and true ATF down the carburetor wall, giving it some gas, and it didn't clear it up. So at that point, we knew there was something under the valve covers. I'm assuming possibly an over-adjusted intake. Now, in the comments, I go through the comments, in the comments, so many people were like, it's a bad cam, it's a bad cam, it's a bad cam. And is a very good possibility of it. Now, the reason I didn't go immediately to bad cam as we had the engine running and I'm trying to figure out what's going on with it, the reason I didn't go with it is because there was no telltale tick that went along with it. So back in the 1980s, as a regular mechanic, the Chevy 305 had a run for a year or two of bad cams. So during that period of time, I probably did one a week for like a year, right? Constant stream of 305 Chevys with bad cams. So I was very, very familiar with that situation. They always had the telltale tick. You know, you'd have the popping up through the carburetor, but also when the engine was idling, you'd get that telltale tick because when the cam wears, it also wears the lifter. So even if the lobe is gone and the base circle is okay, there's still going to be enough taken off the lifter. They generally have like 15 to 20 thousandths of an inch preload. There's generally enough material taken off the bottom of the lifter that you'll get some slack in the valve train and you'll get a telltale tick. Didn't get a telltale tick on this one. So that's why I didn't immediately go to it, but it's a good possibility. So a lot of you guys are like, well, pull the valve covers, let's see what's going on. So that's what I'm gonna do. Let's pop the valve covers off of this thing and get a look. Now a couple of you guys also brought up the fact that it could be cross plug wires. It could be a 5.7 across on the 5.7, which is common. And I did eyeball it, right? Like I went over things for the sake of keeping the videos tight. I did go over things like real quick, looking things over, and I did look at that. And no, the firing order is right. Somebody also mentioned about the distributor being dropped a tooth off. Yes, I know, but the timing is basically where it needs to be, and it could actually be advanced even more. Let me show you. So you see where the vacuum advance canister is pointing. There's a gap between the canister and the intake manifold. If the advance canister was up flat against the intake manifold, then I would have either shifted all of the wires one over on the cap, or I would have pulled the cap and moved the rotor back one tooth, and that would have fixed that. But that's definitely not an issue. But let's get these valve covers off and take a look, and let's see if it is a wiped out cam. All right, I'll be right back. Well, that took all of a minute and a half. You know, all of you Mopar guys who follow this channel, you're gonna cringe right now, but I gotta say this. I have so much affection for these first generation small blocks. You have no idea. Over the course of my life, I've put more of these things together than I have Chrysler engines. I just happen to love Mopars. I happen to love Chrysler products. But these Chevys, oh, me and these engines go way, way back. So at any rate, they're off. And let's spin this thing over and see what we see. Jump out the starter. That's easier said than done. That's a big Mopar advantage with the starter relay mounted on the firewall. Okay, here we go. Oh, here we go. Here's our culprit. Just barely moving. Number 2 exhaust valve, or number 2 exhaust lobe. There. if you called bad cam on this thing, buy yourself a pizza. There you go. I don't know why it's not ticking, but you can see the lifter moving just, or the rocker moving just a hair. I don't know why it's not making any noise. No, it's tight. So this is one of those situations where it wore the nose, the nose off the lobe, but didn't take anything off the base circle and didn't take anything off the lifter. It happens. So there you go. So interesting, right? Let me give you interesting. So Ducky came over yesterday and we were talking about it. The problem is probably under the valve cover. I don't know what it is yet, but it may not be worth getting too involved in it. And he was like, great, I have something I want to put in here. All right, so I'm going to leave this as like a cliffhanger, all right? But because it may or may not happen, I have to go over the parts that he has. I have to go over everything that he has and see if this is a viable, doable thing. But that Chevy may be hanging around here for quite a while, and we may be doing something very, very interesting and very, very cool with it. So I don't want to milk this thing any further. This is like the 4th video in a row we're doing on this car, this engine. So I don't want to go any further for right now. But I'll let you know in a week or so, week or two, if we're going to go forward with it and the bigger picture, the plans. It'll be interesting. So yeah, guys, there you go. Bad camshaft on a small block Chevy. Who would have thought? I'll see you tomorrow.